And the Taliban have issued a statement. I can't confirm or deny this, but it's certainly a news line from a trusted source saying they've instructed their fighters to stay at the gates of Kabul and not to enter the city until a transition takes place. The statement further going on to say, we don't want a single innocent Afghan civilian to be injured or killed as we take charge, but we have not declared a ceasefire. So how are they going to be greeted in Kabul? They've not met resistance along the way so far from these other big cities they've taken, but of course Kabul was the prize, if you like. Are they going to be welcomed in Kabul? Are they hoping it's going to be an easy trip from the outskirts to the centre? Will they take control? Or is there going to be a lot of fighting, a lot of upheaval now? What's your estimation of what the next hours are likely to bring? And are you surprised by that Taliban statement there?
Well, this seems to be a genuine Taliban statement, given the fact that they issued similar statements. They don't want a bloodbath. They are laying a besiege of Kabul, creating a tough condition for the beleaguered Ashraf Ghani government to resign and surrender. And that has been the set pattern by the Taliban. They started basically surrounding they started capturing the surrounding regions, all the checkposts, and now they have come to the Kabul, which means they are going to create conditions where President Ashraf Ghani would be forced to resign, where the conditions would be created that there would be a simple surrender. And I don't foresee a bloodbath, because that has not been the pattern of the Taliban. In most of the cases, they have captured these cities by having negotiations with the governors, by using Islamic scholars, convincing them that it is the time to surrender. And because of the fact that generally perception in Afghanistan is, and what the Taliban believes, that since they have defeated Americans, so it is not that difficult to defeat what they call the puppet of the Americans, who have lost everything in Afghanistan.
Islamabad's been a mediator in the past. Is there anything Islamabad can offer now to try and keep things calm? You say you think it's going to be calm, but I mean, what's happening to the army there, loyal to the government at the moment? What's going to happen to Ashraf Ghani, indeed?
Well, President Ashraf Ghani was under pressure from the USA to resign, because this could possibly salvage Americans the little bit, some sort of self-respect it might have, because it is Americans have been lying very confidently, and as a result of which the world has seen that they left behind a colonial structure which has fallen like a house of cards. Nobody was expecting that the Taliban would recapture Afghanistan so soon. That reflects that the Americans had no strategy. That reflects that Americans had never wanted a peace in Afghanistan.
Is it really, though, sir? Is it really that much of a surprise to the US? And as we were saying, one of our commentators was saying yesterday, the last thing you want to do is give the enemy a clue that you're pulling out 2 months before you actually do it. Of course they were going to try and spread forward the Taliban, as they've done. Surely the Americans must have known this was going to happen after 20 years of so many lives lost, though.
I think the U.S. Inspector General report on Afghanistan, which is a study of seven years long, that reflects everything. It says that the Pentagon has been portraying a rosy picture that it is a winning war in Afghanistan, and they were lying, and it was an unwinnable war. Americans had lost it long ago, and they lied and lied, and at the end of the day, they realized that the Taliban are going to take over entire Afghanistan. So it is better to leave Afghanistan. So that is why they have left, and left their own, what the Taliban call as puppet, on to the mercy of Taliban. So Taliban are dealing with them mercifully, provided they don't resist. I don't expect that President Ashraf Ghani government would resist. He is going to resign, maybe today or maybe tomorrow.
Is Afghanistan in, how can we put this, better, more stable hands than it was for the last 20 years with America in there, given the outcome that we're seeing today, then? How will Afghans see it?
I can confidently foresee and mark my words, Taliban would be a peaceful Afghanistan. Afghanistan would be peaceful under Taliban rule, because that has been the history of Afghanistan under Taliban. They ruled from 1996 to 2001.
Do the people want it? Do the people want it? America says no. We heard a Taliban representative yesterday, obviously would say this. He said, no, people do want this. This is why we've had no a pushback, or not that much pushback so far, because people were tired of the last 20 years and they don't want something imposed on them by America or NATO or whoever in the West that they don't want, so they're welcoming us. Is that true or false?
You know, they've been lying on the international media that the people hate Taliban. The fact that they have taken over Afghanistan within days and weeks reflects that they enjoy the public support in Afghanistan. It is only westernized society, largely in a station in Kabul. They've been projecting a narrative that the people hate Taliban. I have seen the images which suggest that the people love Taliban. They want the return of the Taliban.
Yeah, but we're also being shown, of course, the way that they rule, the way that they deal with things. A lot of people around the world, especially in the West, would consider that to be very barbaric. But do people really want that in Afghanistan?
Americans have killed 200,000 people in Afghanistan. They have killed tens of thousands of the children and women. That is a barbaric. Look at the data that we have. And data clearly reflects that most of the people in Afghanistan have been killed by the US airstrikes. But nobody is ready to call them as a terrorist because it is a government. Taliban is in a weak position. Nobody is going to project them, to project their narrative. So anybody can say anything against Taliban, and that would be considered as a fact. But now we have seen with our own eyes that the people in Afghanistan, in most of Afghanistan, have welcomed Taliban. That reflects what they stand for, and I can foresee very clearly that once they are in power, they would be able to restore peace, something regional countries want, something Russia, Pakistan, Iran, China wants, and something perhaps USA doesn't want.
Not so long ago, we had America saying they should try and make friends with the Taliban. Is that ever possible? It's one thing to make friends. It's another thing to be taken seriously politically. Will they be?
Well, they're trying to be friends with the Taliban at a time when they have lost at their hands. So I think Taliban feel more comfortable with the China, with the Russia, with the Pakistan, Iran, as compared to the USA. It was because of the fact that Pakistan facilitated a peace deal with the Americans. Had there been not a peace deal, I think what is happening now with the Ashraf Ghani government, same thing would have happened with the American troops. So I think at the end of the day, they realized that they need to have a safe exit, and that is the reason they had a peace deal with the Taliban, and American diplomats themselves admit it was a surrender deal.
A couple of days ago, the Afghan government was offering a power-sharing deal with the Taliban. That's not going to go anywhere now, is it?
Certainly, it will go nowhere when the Taliban know they can militarily win Afghanistan. Why would they have a deal with the Ashraf Ghani government, whose rule is not beyond few streets in Kabul? Even Kabul is not under his control. Situation has changed altogether now.
What went wrong for him? Daft question maybe, but what went wrong for Ashraf Ghani?
I think Ashraf Ghani depended too much on the USA, and the USA has proven that it has turned out to be not friend of anyone. When their friends needed them, they deserted them. They had deserted Pakistan, and they now have a geostrategic alliance with its arch rival India. And similarly, it has a history of dealing with other countries. So that is why I think now situation has completely changed. I foresee a greater role of Russia and greater role of China, Pakistan, and perhaps at some level of Iran in Afghanistan. I don't foresee any bigger role of the USA in Afghanistan other than evacuating its staff from embassies.
Javed, could talk to you so much more about this. Thanks for your time. We've gone way over, so I've got to leave you go for now. Geopolitical analyst Javed Rana, thank you for your time. Come back, talk to us soon, yeah?
The growing tide of anti-Israel sentiments. What you see behind me is just tip of the iceberg of what is happening in the country. More than half of $52 billion black CIA budget is spent on espionage network in Pakistan. How would you handle it?
The US has looked upon Pakistan as an ally at one point and then as an enemy at the same time.
That is going to be the first legal reason on the basis of which he is going to be instantly ousted by the Supreme Court of Pakistan.
Joining us live, Javed Rana, who's an expert on politics and geostrategic issues.
In the world politics, which is not being driven by any moral principle, it is being driven by the hard geostrategic realities. In a broader picture, more countries would aspire to have nuclear weapons.